Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to talk about two rather large storms that are going to be for the northwest and the north central United States. Now, before I get into this video, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. For today's comment of the day, I would like to know, do you think that either of these storms will produce very large snowstorms? I think it's very possible. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Let's get straight into this video, and first things first, we're taking a look at our simulated radar, and this is going to be at hours 1:57, so we're already starting out in the pretty long range. We can see this is going to be the morning hours of Saturday, December 4th. I wanted to point this time frame out because this might actually be when the cold pattern in the east is coming to an end. We can see by this point that there is a trough centered over the eastern and central United States. Not too deep of a trough, but there is certainly a ridge out west and a trough in the east comparatively here. But this is going to become more and more flat, and eventually a trough in the west, ridge in the east seems to be likely as we approach the end of the first week of December and the beginning of the second week of December. That's the pattern I am looking out for. There's not a lot of precipitation to talk about on this frame, so let's just go ahead and move on towards about 2 a.m. on Sunday, December 5th. Here, this is going to be hours 1:74, so again, we're already in the long range to start things out here. So take this with a bit of a grain of salt, but I do think this pattern overall is pretty likely. We can see a low pressure system developing there over Nebraska. We have moderate to heavy snowfall for North Dakota, Minnesota, and even Wisconsin by this point. Definitely pretty substantial amounts of snowfall coming down by this point. This is storm number 1 of 2, by the way, and I think it's the least major out of the two. I think that's worth mentioning, but there is quite heavy snowfall included with this one. And by the time we reach a little bit later on Sunday, this is going to be maybe about 6 or 7 a.m., so this isn't too much later, but it is a bit later. We see North Dakota, Minnesota, and northern Wisconsin, as well as the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, seeing the most moderate to heavy snowfall by this point. And I think this storm is good for about a good 6 to 10 inches in the bullseye. That's my general feeling on a storm like this. And that's typically what you deal with, in clipper systems that are similar to this one. That's what we call these, that kind of clip right across the northern United States. They move rather quickly. Here's about 2 p.m. on Sunday, December 5th again, and we're going to be taking a look at still northern Wisconsin, the upper peninsula of Michigan, but also the northern regions of the lower peninsula of Michigan also getting included in a lot of this snowfall as well by this point. Now, we can see by the time we're reaching about 8 p.m. on Sunday, this is the general pattern switch that occurs on Sunday. We can see a ridge developing in the east because this low pressure system really curves up north, and this really allows for that cold air to pour in behind it, and this is when we could switch to a cold west, warm east pattern for good. Well, not for good, but for a while here. Maybe a long-lived pattern. It's hard to say for sure. And by the time we're reaching about 2 a.m. on Monday, December 6th, we can see that second storm developing over the northwestern United States by this point. We see states like Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Nevada, very far northern California as well, becoming included in these pockets of moderate to heavy snowfall with this second storm. We can see the trough is mostly centered over the central United States by this point. Tons of rain for the eastern United States. There is some flooding potential. I'm watching for 2 to 5 inches of rainfall over the course of multiple storms to be possible, which generally gives areas that are susceptible to flooding a good chance at flooding. And here's the temperature anomalies by the time we're reaching this point. You can see that there is warmer temperatures pouring into the eastern United States, but also for the southwest. The cold is mostly around for the upper Midwest and then the northwest as well by this point. And things are only going to get colder for those regions. Now, by the time the first storm is all said and done and the second storm is about to move in, here's what the total snowfall will look like. Keep in mind, before the time frame we talked about in this video, there will be some snowfall for the northeastern United States, so that's why you see that. The first storm we talked about in this video will not be bringing snowfall to the northeast. It does not appear likely. So generally, you're going to want to mostly be paying attention to the Great Lakes there and the upper Midwest for this storm. And as we can see, there's plenty of grays, which is about a dusting, blues, which is about 2 to 6 inches of snowfall, and then also plenty of purples in the bullseye, which is about 6 to 10 inches of snowfall for northern Wisconsin and the upper peninsula of Michigan, as well as the tippy top of the lower peninsula of Michigan. We do see those pinks showing up, which is 10 inches plus. So that seems to be the bullseye as of now for this storm, but there is plenty of time for things to move around. Let's start talking about that second and potentially more major snowstorm. And this is by the time we're reaching about 2 p.m. here on Monday, December 6th. You can see this one dives down into our Great Lakes region, our Rocky Mountain region here. And this is very similar to a lot of the storms we saw in October and then also early November. Heavy snowfall for Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and even Colorado with a 992 millibar low pressure center pretty much right over Denver. We've seen multiple storms this year, very similar to this one, and they usually bring a ton of snowfall. We can see by the time we're reaching about 8 p.m. here on Monday, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, and even some of the Dakotas seeing most of that snowfall by this point. And then finally, by the time I reach about 2 a.m. here on Tuesday, December 7th, again, very long range by this point, we can see a huge trough is centered over the western United States. This snowfall is trying to transfer from the Rockies, which are still seeing some pretty heavy snowfall, especially Colorado and Wyoming. It's trying to transfer up to the northern plains and the upper Midwest. You can see a lot of that moderate heavy snowfall for South Dakota, North Dakota, and Minnesota. And then eventually, by the time I reach about 2 p.m. on Tuesday, December 7th, you can see a lot of that heaviest snowfall is now located over Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and maybe the upper peninsula of Michigan, but there's a lot of mixing going on. We have a 994 millibar low pressure center by this point. Also some snowfall moving back onshore to the northwest as well, which might be worth noting. But we see a 992 millibar low pressure center by the time we're reaching about 8 p.m., bringing mostly snowfall for Wisconsin and Minnesota. Now, by the time we're all said and done with both of these snowstorms, here's the total snowfall through the entire European model run. Again, the Northeast has not changed because we see a big ridge head for the eastern United States. No more snowfall mostly for those regions. We see a substantial amount of snowfall for the mountains of the West, but also for the upper Midwest by this point. If you're anywhere in the grays, again, it's a dusting if anything. Blues are going to be more like 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. Purples are going to be 6 to 10. Pinks are going to be 10 to 20, which we see plenty of that for the upper Midwest there, as you can see, but also for the Rockies and the Cascades out west. But we also see some of those pastels, especially for the upper peninsula of Michigan, but also for some of the Rockies and the Cascades there. That is where we're at 20 inches plus. So this is a very substantial amount of snowfall over the course of 2 snowstorms. And this is going to be the temperature pattern by the time we're reaching the end of this model run. Look at that. Cold in the west, very cold in the west, and then very warm in the east. So a total flip from what we've been dealing with for most of November. Here is our pattern overall from the 28th of November to the December 3rd. You can see through that time frame, it's going to be warm in the west, cold in the east, but it's mostly as we transition here through days 5 through 10. That's going to be December 3rd through December 8th, where we see that warmth transfer more towards the central and eastern United States. And the final day on that model run, this is going to be the 7th, the entire day of the 7th here. You can see that we're dealing with warmer than normal conditions in the east, colder than normal conditions in the west. And we're going to have to see if this pattern is able to really stick around, how long it will stick around. And we'll know more as we head into earlier December for sure what this pattern switch entails. But here is our Pacific North American Oscillation according to our European Ensemble Model, our PNA. Again, I've talked about this multiple times, so probably most of you understand this by now, but in its positive phase, that means warmer temperatures set up in the west, which therefore means the colder temperatures 9 times out of 10 go to the east. Now, it's the opposite when we go into our negative phase. That means colder temperatures set up in the west, and 9 times out of 10 warmer temperatures set up in the east. You can see we're in a positive, and note the fact that we're in a warm pattern in the west, cold in the east, so this is staying true here. But this does head negative as we head towards the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of December, and it stays that way through about the 13th at least on this model run, which means likely colder conditions for the west, and then likely warmer conditions for the east until we see this pop back positive. So we're going to be waiting for that to see a next positive, or a next positive PNA to change that pattern. For today's confidence tab, we're at a 4 out of 6. I've stated a 4 for multiple videos. It's the safest confidence tab to be at, I feel like, so that's why we're at that ranking. For today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, when do you think we will head into a full-blown winter pattern? And Andrew Bauer, I think that's how you say your last name, said feeling maybe a mid-December start to the winter this time, but probably a safe bet for late December instead. And I'm thinking somewhere in that mid to late December timeframe. It's really about when that PNA switches back to positive. and that's when we will see the seasonably cold temperatures out west, but the very cold temperatures in the east. Anyway, for today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting this channel, but especially our platinum patrons, Bill Crates, James Wade, Dovin Nagel, Larry the Pan, Mandy Birchfield, and Patrick Strickland as well. I would also like to thank our diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Quiddles at Catbite, Charles Stinnett, Cindy Klein, Alan Goodmaven, Bill Dallas, Gary's, John Calisi, Dwight Phelan, Stephen Kernethal, and Thomas D. Barr as well. I would also like to thank our channel members, Catbite, Stephen Fan, and Jeremy Cox also. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. I'll see you guys in the next video.